Arsenal scouts are due to cast an eye over another 17-year-old talent this evening when Red Star Belgrade face Malmo in the Europa League. They won't be alone though, because Borussia Dortmund are also tracking 17-year-old Vasilije Kostov, who is a young midfield player with huge potential, who has had an incredible breakthrough season in Serbia this season with Red Star Belgrade. Obviously, they are the elite side in Serbia, have produced a number of gems in recent years. But I've actually spoken to their director, Zvezdan Terzic, who has given me a couple of bites of information and quotes that I can use in my story, which is now live on the Mirror and Football.London website, regarding Arsenal's potential interest. I say potential because at this stage they're very much just making scouting checks on the player. But a very interesting story developing, really, because a lot of Europe's elite clubs, Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich, are also showcasing interest, varying degrees of interest at this stage. My understanding is that Bayern have already called Red Star to express an interest, while Arsenal and Dortmund are simply tracking the player. He's been nicknamed the Balkan Barella and the Serbian Pedri due to his stylistic comparisons to those two players. He can play in multiple midfield roles, but he's more of an attack-minded central midfield player. Scored 6 goals already this season from 24 appearances, and has also earned a cap with the Serbian national team as well. So a player with huge potential. Obviously, Brexit regulations mean any English clubs that would be keen on signing him wouldn't be able to do so till he's turned 18. He's still only 17 at the moment, but actually Red Star's probably the best place for his development because he's playing regularly in the Europa League as well. As I said, playing Malmo tonight, but he's already scored in Europe as well, having scored against Porto. But just moving on slightly to the quotes from Terzic. So he's a contact that I've had discussions with previously, because a number of Red Star players have come to the Premier League. Nasser Jigo last year, the central defender, Burkina Faso international, went to Wolves. He's now on loan at Rangers as well. And also Veljko Milicevic, who is a young central defender who signed for Bournemouth in the summer for £13 million. So in Serbia, they're very much, directors are very much more open. I've noticed this with a lot of European clubs actually, very much more open to speak with you about transfers, and was willing to speak on the record as well. So just a few small quotes, but what he said was, I can't talk about exactly who has called for him, but we have already received an offer worth 20 million euros for him. So that works out about £17.45 million. Obviously, he wasn't willing to disclose exactly who had made this offer. Arsenal were not believed to be that club, even though he wouldn't confirm to me who it was. As always, there is a chance that maybe they could be drumming up interest in Kostov, but you might have seen a lot written about him over the past couple of weeks. He's definitely a player that has been on my X timeline a few times, so I wanted to do a bit of digging into his situation, and I was told that Arsenal and Dortmund will be present tonight amongst a number of other clubs in Sweden to cast an eye over him. And it's been pretty much a regular occurrence that clubs from across Europe have watched him in person this season. He's played in the Eternal Derby against Partizan as well, but become a real regular. And he's, as I said, an attack-minded midfielder, but can probably play as a 10, 8 or 6. So a really interesting profile with real potential, and certainly someone that Arsenal are at least scouting at this moment in time. Obviously, at the club, there's been a huge internal push on recruiting young players to boost the club's academy ranks. See, Per Mertesacker just left, and there's been kind of reports that the Arsenal academy has been underperforming. A number of young players due to arrive at the club next year. Edwin and Holger Quintero, the Ecuadorian twins from Independiente del Valle from Ecuador, which is where the likes of Moises Caicedo came through the ranks, Piero Hincapié as well. They're due to sign for the club officially in August 2027. I think the deal was worth actually up to 9 million for them too, including various bonuses. So Arsenal, now that they've kind of built this squad, which is so deep and so sort of stacked with quality under Andrea Berta, 8 signings last summer, a record spend. There's real sort of leverage and freedom to potentially invest more in their youth setup. Another player that is due to arrive as well is Victor Ozian-Vuna from Shamrock Rovers. I'm not sure if I've pronounced that right, but a highly rated Republic of Ireland under-17 international arrives at the club next January. Was actually at the Liverpool game recently to watch at the Emirates Stadium. So Arsenal have shown a willingness to invest in young players, certainly because there is more scope financially to do so, because there's not really too many areas of their squad where they actually need to sign players for the first team. And I'm not for 1 minute suggesting they will definitely move on Kostov, but if he's someone that impresses their scouting department, then there's every chance they could do so. I think the fact that Dortmund and Bayern are also monitoring the player is usually telling that he's a big talent, and the fact he's come straight into the first team and made such a splash this season really is kind of indicative of his quality and how high he could potentially reach in terms of his ceiling. I also spoke to former Derby midfielder Timmy Max Elsnik, who you might remember from Euro 2024 because he was brilliant for Slovenia. And I've actually established contact with him since that tournament because there was a chance he was going to return to English football with Hull. A few other clubs were looking at him, Pisa from Italy, but he eventually signed for Red Star Belgrade. And I spoke to him this morning and asked him about Kostov, and he was willing to let me publish the quote from him as well. So he said he is already very good and can be a top player. A player for the top level if he keeps progressing and developing. So very highly rated by his teammates and the directors at the top of the club. As you may know, or you may not know, Red Star Belgrade's academy is very highly rated and respected around Europe. A number of players in recent years have gone on to sign for clubs in Europe's top 5 leagues. As I said, Milicevic, the centre-back, that signed for Bournemouth in the summer for 13 million. He's actually had a bit of an injury, but made a really impressive start to his Bournemouth career under Andoni Iraola. RB Leipzig signed midfielder Andrea Maximovic as well, was linked with a number of clubs including Liverpool, but he went to Leipzig for around 12 million. Then there's Kosta Nedlikovic, who is a right-back who Villa signed 2 years ago, but he's currently on loan at Leipzig as well. And there's a few others that have moved to. One's gone to New York City, and there's a defender that's also gone to Fenerbahce in recent years. So players that they're willing to trade and move on to Europe, because a number of these clubs just don't have the financial capacity to keep hold of these players once they start to receive interest from Europe's top 5 leagues.